Hi Lindsay.
Hi Aditya, how are you?
Very well. Welcome to Sudeep Audio's channel.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been a while since we've been talking about this.
Yes, about 4 years. So, Lindsay, you're one of the finest drummers in the country,
Thank you.
and we're honored to have you on the channel.
Thanks.
So, if you could run us through your musical journey, things you learned, things you kind of realized that you wanted to be a musician, any turning points in your journey from childhood.
That could be like a really long story.
We have a lot of
Could
time.
just go on and on. Well, I always had like a passion for playing drums. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, my parents would take me to back in the day when cinemas were still cinemas. I mean, there were very few of them, and my dad used to work in a building that Sterling, a very big cinema house back in the day. He used to take me for these Elvis Presley live concerts that they used to have runs of, and apparently I stayed for 2 shows. I didn't leave. I saw one of them and I was just awestruck by the guy playing drums because he had this big drum kit.
How old
And
were you?
I think I was in the first grade or something, so
Okay.
probably 5 or 6
Pretty
or
young.
something. Yeah. And then you had these plastic containers where my parents would store papads and things like that, which I used to kind of just put together and make my own drum kit, take a bunch of pencils and whatever, and take another thali or a plate that basically made a metallic sound, and that would be my cymbal. So yeah, it was always going to be like either, I think, football or drums. And then as I grew up, the state of football was not very good in our country. I mean, a lot of the tournaments were not happening, and I think just
But you were
yeah, I was in school. I was quite the sportsman. I would play pretty much everything: football, hockey. I do athletics as well, and yeah, a lot of sports.
no
sports.
parental pressure on marks and stuff.
Not really, not really. My dad is a sportsman as well, so I think that's where the genetic code comes from. And there was a lot of music in the house. They're not musicians, but they're very music enthusiastic people. My mother, father, brother as well. Brother back in the day used to run like a small cassette business, so that's where the influence of the whole 80s heavy metal, top of the pops, all that. So I didn't get stuck to just one genre. Plus, my father would listen to country music. My mom was a big Elvis fan. So there was a variety of music in my house. Yeah, so it went on from there. School was funny because since I played so many sports, the school band, there was a really strange, funny rule that the school band only had to comprise of boarders, people who lived in the school. And since I was a day scholar, I couldn't. And the funny thing was, since I played so much of sports, we'd always be hanging out in the boarding, changing room, locker rooms were up there. All my friends were boarders. I'd see all these instruments lying there, but I couldn't touch them. So that was funny. Moving forward, I met a bunch of people. We formed like a heavy metal band. They auditioned me. They realized that I was good enough for the band. It was a band called Witchhammer with Paresh, Ravi, JD, all these guys. And we went back to my school, and I actually performed in my school. So that was quite a full circle where I was not able to play the instruments, and I actually come back to my school and I'm like playing Metallica and Iron Maiden, and it was received by mixed reactions from my teachers. Some were like, "Oh, this guy's on drugs and he's worshipping the devil," and the other teachers were, "Wow, we we love your hair and we love your earrings," and that was quite a milestone gig because I had my mother, my grandmother, and my mom's sister who came with me for that as well, and they were, of course, a big support. Trying to tell the teachers, what is this narrow-minded? Why does it's only music he's doing? Why do you have to associate it with all the other things? So it was quite cool. So that was then. That's when I started playing in a heavy metal band, and I realized that I would perhaps go to music school. And I think the 80s and the 90s was probably the worst phase of Bollywood. With no disrespect to anybody, but just a personal preference. I never thought I would be doing what I'm doing right now. But having said that, the whole industry has completely changed. Bollywood is not what it used to be back then. I don't think the term Bollywood was even around. Anyways, a little rewind back again from the rock bands, thinking like I would not play all this. I would just play my music and do my thing and go to music school and study music, composition, or maybe film score or something like that. The journey went on, and I met Lucky Ali in '96, and I met another well-renowned keyboard player called Dinsha Sanjana. He had his own fusion group, and he saw us playing at Rang Bhavan, which was quite an iconic venue. A lot of memories there. He saw us playing. I was in a band called the Spice Tribe, if I remember correctly, with Paresh, Naresh, and Suraj, and that was, I think, the heaviest we were. We were doing a lot of Pantera and some of our own stuff, and all that kind of stuff. And this guy saw us and he was like, I think you guys have a vibe. I have this Thailand Jazz Festival to go to. Would you guys be interested to come? But I'd like you guys to rehearse with me for at least 2 months. So we went to his house, had a meeting with him, heard some of the stuff that he did. I mean, which kind of blew my mind, because it was him playing with Ranjit and I think Nikolai, this bass player. They had a band called G Wiz. And that almost, when I heard it the first time, sounded like, the Indian version of Chick Corea. And it was pretty intense. So I was like, yeah, sure. This is like a jump from where we are. And I don't have any reservations towards like, I'm only going to play rock music, or I'm only going to play, because that's what we were playing at that point. So we said, okay, let's take it on. And it was quite a jump, because from playing like, open hi-hat kind of rock, fast double bass stuff, to like time signatures of 7.5 and 13. And I was like, what is this? So that was a big learning curve in terms of a different, genre of music. And like I said, simultaneously in '96, I also met Lucky Ali, and that was when his album O Sanam was at the peak, and there was a new, fresh sound. There was the advent of cable television, Channel V, MTV, video making was very popular then, and I remember watching O Sanam on television. I was like, wow, this is a cool video. I was not really into the song yet, but next thing I get a call from somebody saying, hey man, Lucky Ali is auditioning for this band. It's actually a friend of mine, Kalyan, who's like a great friend, and we've been working for so long, and he's kind of instrumental in getting me into this scene. Funny story, I was in a band with him and Floyd, a blues band, him, Floyd, and a bass player, and I was playing drums, and we'd play blues. And I think an hour gig we'd play probably 5 songs, because you have 2 blues guitar players, so what do you expect? They're going to be soloing. So yeah, that was fun. And then we did this audition, and we started playing with Lucky Ali. And then from there, the whole session thing started moving. Lucky Ali happened. I played with Shan for a bit. Did some stints with the Channel V band. Couple of gigs with the Colonial Cousins, where I was doing some drum machine stuff. So that's when the whole session musician thing started. It was like not like how it used to be. Like, I'm going to play with just my band, and that's it. So now I started playing with different people who I didn't know their music, and that's when I started. I also dabbled in advertising for a bit, because I got to a point where I was like unhappy or kind of just bored, and I thought, let me give advertising a try. So me and another close friend, Abhijit Nalani, we did a lot of ad films, probably from '99 to about, say, perhaps 2005 or so. That was also the independent music always kept happening. Lucky Ali was happening. We had another band called Gigi's Funkadelic Arcade, where we decided, let's play music that we listen to. And I'm very close to funk and hip hop and acid jazz. So that was another band formed with a bunch of my friends, T2, JD, Naresh, Tiku, my wife, who was not my wife then, Candy. So we were doing all that kind of music, and post that, Bombay Black happened, which was quite a milestone kind of for the indie kind of scene, because it took us to LA. We played alongside a bunch of musicians. We managed to play at the same gig that Aerosmith performed at. So it was quite a big thing in our resume, on my resume, kind of, for the indie scene. And there was also a collaboration of a bunch of us which were doing different kind of music. It was also the advent of computers and home studios, where we all started sitting down and writing our own music. It gave us the tool to, write our own music, because otherwise, just to record drums back in the day was a pain. Like, it would take me a day to just, set up. When I mean set up the kit, set up sound, try to get a good sound, and then after a day realize, hey man, the sound's not really happening, so let's get it. So I guess we didn't have the knowledge, we didn't have the know-how, and we didn't have the gear, and it was not a very done thing. Although I've heard so much, like back in the 70s, most of the film recordings were done just completely live. And that's why I meant like this, like I still can stand the 60s and 70s, but then the 80s went into like a zone that I could not associate with. And then 90s also was kind of Hindi pop came in. There was still no Bollywood. It was still Hindi pop with Lucky Ali, Colonial Cousins, Shan, a bunch of other people. There were a handful. It was still very small. Not like how it is now. Yeah, then indie music kept going on along with session music, a little bit of advertising. After Bombay Black came Groove Supper, where I performed with Dwight, who's no longer around, fabulous bass player, Tala, amazing saxophone key player, Binay Rai, guitar player, T2, my best drummer buddy once again. He and JD are generally a part of most of my projects. And that was a great experience because we got into the studio for about a week. We recorded in Empire when it was Empire, the big studio that it was. And it was a completely live recording with the great Shantanu Hudlikar. So that was a great experience. And then, I mean, you know, the session musician thing was in. It's sad but true. It's kind of, I don't mean to like dishearten or put a negative thought into the young kids who are doing their own music and trying to make a living doing that. It's difficult because I think our country, first of all, does not have enough venues to showcase, independent music. Bollywood is omnious. Everything is Bollywood, and like you have nowadays with reality television and like this, I don't even know half of the people that are around, But there's like I said, 96, 98, when Channel V, MTV was around, it was still Hindi pop. There was still a bunch of session musicians. There was no influx of people from outside coming into Bombay. The scene was not so big, for good or bad, whatever it is. But now it's very different. It's great. It's great to see so much talent. But like having said that, it seems like Bollywood is everything, which it's probably from a financial point of view it is. It's like how people in the West, most people, like most of my friends who are musicians, they have a day job. So you could consider Bollywood your day job, and that gives you the funds for you to do your other stuff which you actually started out wanting to do. But I see a lot of people also getting complacent and just saying, hey, whatever, time nahi milta hai, whatever. But as musicians, I think it's our duty to keep that side burning. Because I don't expect to make funds out of that music. It's more to showcase your art and what you're true to. At the same time, it's still music. So it's not like I'm dissing Bollywood. I mean, the whole scene of Bollywood has changed. What is Bollywood now? It's all Western music. It's hip hop, it's techno, it's rock. I mean, who would ever think there would be a film called Rock On? So anyways, there is. So yeah, having said that, the independent music still went on. There was Groove Supper. From after Groove Supper, there was Bliss Logic, which a lot has been just conceived in this room. I was fortunate to work with, once again, being in Bombay allows me to work with people and fabulous musicians from the city because they are my colleagues and friends. And these things have just been taken forward by, like, now I know you and you're like, chalo kuch karte hai yaar, let's do something. But that always just remains as a conversational piece, There are very few people who actually call you up the next day and say, hey man, I'm free today, you want to do this? And that's how it was done. So Bliss Logic and DCF, which followed. DCF is basically who I am right now. It's like my, also known as AK Dark Circle Factory, which I've been pushing, and that is just me as a composer / producer, and also trying to take it live. And it's gone through a bunch of ups and downs because now I'm on my third set of DCF. The first set was with Sonu Sangameshwaran and this rapper called Illustrate. We did that for a while, then Sonu migrated. He's in Melbourne now. Herschel went off to do other things. Then simultaneously I met this fabulous keyboard player called Karan Joseph, aka Mad Fingers. I started playing with him. I recorded 2 EPs with him, but unfortunately bad events happened. And so now I'm on my third phase of DCF. So it's just like it's not easy to do this stuff, you know. So that's what I'm saying. It's not. I'm coming back to, you know, the. I don't want to dishearten the young kids who are doing this stuff. Totally. I mean, right now you guys have all the media and everything to do it. Back then we didn't have stuff. It would just be like, to materialize a recording, it was a big pain. But now things are a lot easier. I can record in this room, just set up a computer here, and, you know, do whatever we want to do. But yeah, it's quite different now. It's from '96, like, so it's been a long journey. Yeah.